Well, hello, everyone. It's your girl, Gabrielle. Welcome to a brand new episode of Hot Topics. If you have no idea what this web series is about, let me tell you what this web series is about. This is the web series where we like to talk about things that you don't really talk about, or you only talk about with your friends, or there's always something you wanted to know, but you never were really sure where to find out the information. This is it. This web series is an educational and informational tool for you, and we like to do things in a fun way. So, this isn't the place for celebrity gossip. This is the show about learning. So we are here to teach you, and um, this is the web series where we tend to focus on certain topics. We tend to talk about education. We tend to talk about learning disabilities, physical health, mental health, financial literacy, divorce. What else do we talk about? We talk a few different youth entrepreneurship, being a mom of a young entrepreneur. So we definitely cover a lot of ground, and today is no different. So I am excited because today we have a returning guest. Her name is Dr. Dawn Menge, and I can't wait to tell you about her. But I just realized that I forgot to name this episode. Um, so give me 1 second. I'm trying to remember. I forgot. I forgot my episode. Yes, we are going to discuss her children's book. Okay, let me just put that in right now. So Dragon's Breath, a virtual reading. Put this here. Okay, now I'm good. So the name of this episode is called Dragon's Breath, a virtual reading. So I am excited for this episode because this is our very first episode where we will have a live on screen virtual reading of a children's book, and I am so excited to embrace this new chapter and to cross this new bridge, and hopefully there will be more readings to come. So let's get right to it. I can't wait. I'm just going, we're just going to do this. So, again, I mentioned her name. I have a returning guest. Her name is Dr. Dawn Menge, and she's been with us twice already, and she's back again. She loves being on the hot seat. But I'm just going to remind you who she is. So, without further ado, who is Dr. Dawn Menge? Let me tell you who she is. As a matter of fact, let me remind you of who she is. So, Dr. Dawn Menge has won 70 international awards as the published author of the Queen Vernita's educational series and Dragon's Breath, including the Special Recognition Champion Award from Conquering Disabilities with Film, Best Written Word from Miracle Makers Film, Hollywood Dreams Film, and International Author Boss Award for Power Conversations magazine. Her published works also include the 6 federal individual education plan goals and the effectiveness of their implementation in preparing for transition. Dr. Dawn Menge has a PhD in education. She specializes in curriculum and instruction. She also holds a master's and a clear credential in moderate/severe disabilities and a bachelor's degree in human development. Dr. Dawn Menge has been teaching students with severe cognitive delays for over 20 years and mentors and lectures graduate students. Dr. Dawn Menge is the mother of 3 and the grandmother of 6 beautiful grandchildren. That is a wealth of background. Wow. All right, so let's get right to it. So I'm going to bring Dr. Menge to the stage right now. Hi there.
Hi, how are
Welcome
you?
back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome, awesome. So today I'm just gonna set up the scene here. So you're going to read in its entirety your children's book, one of your children's books, Dragon's Breath, and we're gonna have a live on screen reading. So I am excited about that. But before we get into the reading, can you tell us about the nature of the book, the intended audience, et cetera, et cetera?
Dragon's Breath is for pre-K to first, second, and third graders. It's based on the king and the queen, and then some problems that they are having in the kingdom and how they solve it. There's a lot of vocabulary development, problem solving, critical thinking that goes on inside the story. It was actually based on an experience I had where someone was doing the wrong thing. They got upset at me and they started vandalizing my home and terrorizing me in my home, and it went on for years. So out of that experience, I wrote this book. A friend of mine who was helping me through it, and it's been read all over the world, and it's helping a lot of the children learn some life skills about being kind and not hurting other people when you're jealous or upset or angry. And so I have entered it. It's won 8 awards. I entered it in the film festivals. It won the Best Written Word for Miracle Makers Film Festival. And I got to go in July to the awards ceremony, and they actually played several of my book trailers on the big screen. It's also won honorable mention in the picture books for Story Monster magazine. This is something that I do a lot of work with. They're out of Tempe, Arizona. In fact, today I just got through judging several books in their Story Monster literary contest. So if there are any authors out there, it's a great place to send your books and have them judged. They have several different contests. I also write book reviews for Story Monster magazine. So if you want to look in the magazine, it's online. It's also in print. And find some reviews and some really good books that you could read to your children. I also won. This one is, I believe it's the same award. So we're off to start reading the book. Once upon a time, King Teddy and Queen Giggles shared a magical life together filled with love and adventure. They traveled far and wide within their kingdom, sharing this magical life and writing down their tales to share with the school children of their kingdom. But sadly, it wasn't always so for them. For many years, they lived separately in different worlds. There was an evilness that surrounded their kingdom that kept them apart, and it filled their hearts with sadness. They both dreamed of one day being together and gaining their power back from the darkness that had entered their lives and kept them apart. Many years before, King Teddy had befriended an aging dragon. This dragon pretended to be good and caring, and she went around the kingdom of quails telling stories to the villagers, convincing them to follow her. She told them she had magical powers and would help them grow bigger and better crops. The villagers were filled with hope from the dragon's promises, and they all did what she said. King Teddy gave the dragon food and a nice cave to live in for all her help with the villagers. He wanted his people to be successful and to thrive. So the king was trying to do something really good for his villagers. One day, King Teddy introduced the dragon to Queen Giggles. The king wanted the queen and the dragon to be friends as they were both trying to help the villagers. Queen Giggles tried to be friends with the dragon, but the dragon was very mean and said, "I will never let the king know happiness unless he is with me." The dragon became angrier and angrier as she realized how much the king loved his queen. He was devoted to her, and this made the dragon feel left out, and she was afraid he would stop making her so important in the kingdom of quails. You see the dragon in the background? She's not very happy. She's stomping on the roses that the queen gave her. The dragon was not powerful enough to blow fire in her anger, but when she huffed and puffed, big bellows of black smoke came out of her nostrils. Late at night, the dragon would huff and puff and blow smoke all over the kingdom of quails. See, she's blowing her smoke on the crops at night. In the daytime, the dragon would continue to tell her story of hope and convince the villagers that she was there to help them through the smoke. The black smoke soon covered all the crops and flowers and cast a darkness around the kingdom that made the king, the queen, and the villagers very sad and hopeless. The flowers stopped blooming and the birds could not sing through the deep, dark smoke. So everybody's sad and the dragon's just watching. King Teddy and Queen Giggles became so sad and hopeless that they lived in different parts of the kingdom of quails. They did not know what to do to make everything better. They did not know how to solve the mystery of the deep darkness that the smoke brought to the kingdom. So they didn't know what to do because they did not know where the smoke was coming from. One dark and sad night, the king was wandering around the kingdom, sick with worry for his once beautiful kingdom, and he missed his queen. He suddenly heard very strange noises coming from the field of crops. It was some sort of breathing, a strangled huffing and puffing. Uh-oh. The king slowly and carefully followed the sound. He came upon the dragon blowing her deep, dark smoke on the crop of food that the villagers were trying to grow. It's you, dragon. You are the creature that is spreading darkness on my once beautiful kingdom and preventing villages from thriving. How could you do this? I believed in you and thought you were here to help my villagers, not hurt them. It makes me very angry that you and Queen Giggles are happy together. I'm never going to let that happen. I do not want you to be happy without me, the dragon said through the dark smoke. It is not okay for you to hurt other people because you are angry. That is not how we treat each other in the kingdom of quails. You need to leave and never come back. You are vanquished from my kingdom forever, King Teddy demanded as he pointed for the dragon to leave. The dragon put her head down and her tail between her legs and plodded away from the kingdom. She was never heard from again. So the king was very clear that it's not okay to hurt people. The kingdom of quails soon returned to its beautiful self. Flowers bloomed and the birds sang their melodies. Crops grew and flourished and the stars sparkled brightly each night. Queen Giggles and King Teddy could be seen walking hand in hand along the orange sand beach at night after spending their days ruling their lands and living in their castle all covered in red roses. So everyone got to live happily ever after. So it's a story about being kind and not hurting people. Now, I have a comprehension test here just to check, and I will read it in case anybody wants to test their children. So the first question is, what is the name of the kingdom? Quails, Mario, England, or Castle? Question number 2. What did the king want the queen and the dragon to be? Enemies, friends, co-workers, or villagers? Number 3. Was the dragon blank to meet the queen? Was she sad, jealous, happy, or funny? Question number 4. Who was blowing the black smoke? The queen, the king, the dragon, or the villagers? What were the villagers growing? Pencils, streams, crops, or flowers? What does thriving mean? Dying, swimming, growing, or talking? What color was the sand at the end of the story? Pink, blue, white, or orange? And then I will send this, and then she can post it if she would like, or I can post it on the thing, on the recording, and you can test your children if you would like to.
Awesome. Yes, please. If you can post it in the on the chat. Well, that was an amazing story, and thank you for the reading comprehension questions. We definitely encourage you guys to stimulate the brains of the youngins with those questions. So let's talk about the intention of the book. So well, how about this? How is this book different from any other children's book?
This book talks about actions and emotions and what is appropriate and not appropriate, and how to monitor your own emotions when you are upset. And it talks about the effects that your actions have on other people. And a lot of times we don't think about it. This book talks about the different perspectives. It comes from the king and the queen and how they're being affected by what's going on. The villagers, the dragon is hurting innocent people because she's upset at the king. And so sometimes when people do things to hurt one person, it actually hurts a lot of people that are not even aware of what's going on. So she was ruining the crops that the villagers were working very hard to work on. And so it talks a lot about it and envisions for the children that their actions kind of have a ripple effect. And it's not just targeting one person. You're actually affecting quite a few people when you're doing something. And then it talks about having a positive resolution. And a lot of the questions that I get when the children are reading the story is that they want to make the dragon so that she didn't mean to do it. A lot of times the children say, well, I don't think she meant to do it. And we have to teach our children that there's not always remorse, and there's not always a way to let somebody stay in your life who has done something bad intentionally. The dragon did mean to do it. She did it out of anger and jealousy, and she did mean to cause harm. And so the king chose to banish her from the kingdom so she didn't hurt anyone else. And we can't always, sometimes we have people in our lives who are hurting people, hurting you or someone else. And there isn't always a feel-good answer. There isn't, oh, the person didn't mean it. If the person is doing it intentionally, they did mean it. And keeping them in your life is only adding more to it. And they will continue doing it because you've kind of given them permission to do it again. You've accepted the apology or whatever it was, assuming that they have remorse and they've learned a lesson or whatever it is they needed, but that's not always the case. So you just have to be careful, and we have to teach our children that there are different aspects to things.
So it sounds like you're teaching them about actions and consequences. You're teaching them about that there are people in the world that will intentionally hurt you. You're teaching them about, in a way, being assertive, how to deal with those people that hurt you. So you're teaching kids, especially first and second graders, about the reality of people,
Right.
and how to address that.
Yes. They have to create boundaries. So the king created the boundary for his kingdom, for his villagers. He protected his villagers, and he said that she had to leave because she wasn't just hurting the queen and the king. She was hurting the villagers and the children. And so he created the boundary and said that she could not be in it. And people have to have boundaries. You have to create your own boundaries and say, and tell people you can't do this. It's not okay. And, it's hard. It's a hard reality to learn that there are people in the world that do not have remorse and they do not feel bad about hurting other people. And it's a hard lesson, but it's a lesson that children need to be aware of.
So why did you choose this topic?
It actually came from an actual experience that I had. I met someone who came to my home and said she was part of a ministry, and she was supposed to be doing a women's ministry, and instead she became upset because I was dating the man that she was in the ministry with. And she actually threatened me at the end of the conversation and said that she would never let him have me. And she had been sitting in front of my house, walking around my house in the middle of the night. And she called me a dragon slayer, and then proceeded to have my neighbors terrorize me for 3.5 years until I could sell my home. And so my friend Judy and I, she was my assistant. And so she was helping me through it. And we were actually sitting in the police station talking to a detective who confirmed, at that point I'd already sold my house, but he confirmed that it was indeed her that had been doing it. So Judy and I went to Vegas for the weekend to relax. And on the way there, we actually wrote Dragon's Breath. And it just because we'd been going through it for several years, and she had been a really strong mainstay for me and helped me through it, we were able to create this story. And when I got to Vegas, I actually read it to the man that was involved, and he actually named the book. So, it was a positive way for me to deal with what was done to me, to turn it into a positive experience and to share it with the world and to help teach the children, which is, I'm a teacher, so that is kind of what we do. So.
Awesome. So what was my thought? So it was your therapy.
Right. It was based on my books are all based on my actual experiences. So I try to turn it into, well, there was a purpose to what she did. And the purpose was to help me teach other people about right and wrong and how to stand up for yourself and how to create boundaries. So that's what I turned it into.
And whatever happened to her, do you know?
She got married and is happy, and it's been years. It took me several years to feel safe enough to even publish the book. And this was only, I think I published it last year. And I have begun to talk about it and talk about what happened. I've done a lot of interviews on what happened to me because there was a lot of gaslighting, and there still actually is a little bit going on. It's died down, but people don't understand gaslighting, and it's a way people do things. There's a movie about it, and there's a way that people do things to you, and then they either totally deny it, or tell you that you're making it up or you're overreacting or whatever. And I would come home and it would feel like someone had been in my house, like they'd been just hanging out in my house, watching TV or whatever. It was the weirdest feeling, but things would be moved just a little bit. And then they came to the point where they were making my alarms go off, which was just terrifying my nerves, and vandalizing my house and stuff. And they were having a great time doing it. I was not, but it's just about processing it and helping others who might be going through something and be worried and not understanding what they're going through. People assume that someone who has a lot of accomplishments has never had anything happen to them. And that's not correct. Everybody has something. And I'm sorry. And so I like to share a little bit about it now that I feel safer, just to help other people.
Well, it's interesting that you made it a children's book.
Well, I write children's books. So, and it's actually, This kingdom is actually part of the kingdom of Queen Vernita, my Queen Vernita books. So this kingdom is a neighboring kingdom in the book. So I kind of interconnected everything. And I am sure that at some point, Dragon's Breath will continue and it will be a positive story from now on. And I have never written an adult book. I have started writing and trying. I've written some magazine articles, some newspaper articles. I've also been in some anthologies. I did this one. Sorry. This one, it was about the pandemic. And what we did during the pandemic, I actually published 6 books while we were in lockdown. And it was published in Ireland. And so I've written some articles for special ed in Australia and Africa. So I've become an international author over this. So I've just had some amazing experiences.
Oh, that's awesome for you. That's awesome for you. Congratulations. That's such great news. So now when you read this to children, what reactions do you tend to get? You know, any what do they tell you? What do they say? How do they react after they hear this story or they read it?
I actually gave it to another author who was reading it online with her 6-year-old son, and it was I really enjoyed watching the interaction that was going on. There was a lot of vocabulary building. He was asking a lot of questions about what some of the things were, and he was problem solving for the king. And he was telling the king, why didn't the king put a net out and put some food in it so he could catch the dragon? And why didn't the guards help the king? And then he was one of the children who said at the end, well, I don't think the dragon really meant it. And, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of problem solving. There's a lot of critical thinking. There's a lot of vocabulary building that goes on. And the biggest response I get is that they want a happy ending for the dragon, which I think is interesting, but then I explain, not everything has a happy ending. You can't do bad things and you end up with a happy ending. So, because if you teach children that every time something bad happens, it's always going to turn out okay for them, you're kind of teaching them that if they do something bad, if they are hurting people, it's okay because it's going to turn out okay for me no matter what I'm doing. And that's not really a very good life lesson to be teaching children.
I'm sorry. I thought there was a happy ending in your book.
Not for the dragon.
Oh, okay.
The king and queen, yes, but they want the dragon to also have a happy ending. And I have to explain that no, you can't do bad things to other people and have a happy ending. There are consequences.
Oh, so the happy ending was for the king and the queen.
Yes, and the villagers. Yes.
And the villagers. Okay. Do you think you would ever write a book that doesn't have a happy ending for anyone?
No. I wouldn't write that.
Too real? Too real? Too rough?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to find some kind of positiveness in everything that happens to you, or it's hard to actually accept it. So
now tell me why you chose first and second graders as your audience, as opposed to an age group that would be more emotionally developed, like a 4th grader or a 5th grader.
Well, most of my books are based on pre-K, 1st grade, 2nd grade. And I wanted to keep it kind of simple, not really go into depth of the emotions and things that were going on. If I were to maybe rewrite it into an older book, or I would go more into depth about what was going on and the reactions. And then, but I was I write children's books, and so I just made it as simple as I could.
Oh, so it's what you've been doing. You just stuck to what you did.
Yeah. I already had probably 8 books out at that point when I wrote it. So
Did you get any like criticism, negative feedback?
no, no, just wanting the dragon to have a happy ending. that's the only that's the only suggestion. But no, no.
Hmm. So why do you think that is? Why do you think the kids want the dragon to have a happy ending?
Because I think it's hard for them to understand that. I think because we teach our children um, that if you're doing something bad, if you stop and you apologize or change your behavior at that moment, that okay, it's fine. But you know, it's hard for them to learn that not everybody is going to change their behavior. They might change it momentarily, but so we teach our children that if they hit someone else, if they go back and apologize to that person, then somehow it erases their action. And so they want that to happen for the dragon also. But it's not really teaching them the boundaries of if someone is purposely doing something, and they don't always have the remorse where you need to keep them and you need to protect your environment, your kingdom. And so that is hard for them because we're not teaching them that.
So then how do we teach it? Because I mean, I'm guilty as well. Like when I see like my little nieces and nephew, and they hit somebody, I would say, go apologize. You know, but what you're saying is true. Just because you apologize doesn't mean that they mean it, or that they won't do it again. They might do it again, and they'll just, people just say sorry just to say it, just
Right.
to appease the adult. So what what is the lesson? What should we do? What should we do um, um, and to teach our kids this?
Well, this is one page to point out if you want to try and teach it is so the dragon has been blowing the smoke and the crops are dying. So the villagers, they're all in distress. This one is crying. The king is obviously upset. He doesn't know what to do. The little boy's picking up the crop that has died, and this is his food. This is what they're living off of. Okay, but what is the dragon doing? The dragon's watching. The dragon isn't saying, oh, I did that. I didn't mean to do that. I'm so sorry. The dragon's watching the distress that she's causing people, and she doesn't change her behavior. And that is something that you can point out. After this, the king and queen are parted. And then the dragon is continuing to blow the smoke. So the dragon sees what's happening to the villagers, to the king and queen, and the dragon continues the behavior. So what we're teaching our children is, oh, you hit someone, look, you hurt them. And then, oh, I didn't, because they don't, little children normally don't mean to hurt other people. They're just reacting. But if you hurt someone and you see that you've hurt them, and then you continue to hurt them, and you don't stop until someone makes you stop, that's intentional. And so that's something that could be pointed out in the story, is that even after the dragon sees the effects of her behavior on the villagers, on the king and queen, she continues the behavior. So it's very intentional. And that is something that we really can point out. And that's why the king needed to make the boundaries.
Mm. So then it sounds like this book is more reactive in that you're teaching children how to react when someone hurts you, and they keep hurting you after you tell them to stop.
Right. Yes. The person has not learned your boundaries, and they're not respecting your boundaries, even though you've put them up. So, and made the request. So you have to understand that you don't keep saying, please stop, please stop. You say, okay, you need to go away now. You need to find somewhere else to be. Or sometimes you're the person that needs to be someplace else.
That's interesting. So it's sort of like, well, then you don't really know that you're bothering somebody until someone tells you or someone kicks you out. Um, so
But we're not talking about like an irritation, like somebody's too noisy or something, that you might not realize that you're bothering someone. But if you're intentionally, see that the dragon's intentionally hurting them, she's seeing what she's doing to them. She's seeing she's killing the crops. This is their food. She's seeing that she's upsetting the king and queen so much that they're separate. So she is aware that she's negatively affecting the kingdom. And she's promising the kingdom that she's going to help them while she's hurting them. So that is in the story also. So that is something you have to realize too. If that person, and which is what this person was doing, she was telling people she was going to help everyone when she is indeed the person that was hurting everyone. And so those kind of people do exist in our everyday life. I mean, they're not just on the movies.
yeah. So just so I understand, so the dragon knew that it was hurting the people. It wasn't that the
Right.
dragon wasn't
Right.
like sometimes people do things but they don't really know that they're hurting. They're
Right.
just
And
they're just
that's different if they don't realize that they're hurting someone. And we're not talking about obviously if you hit someone, you're hurting them.
yeah.
But yeah, we can do things and not realize that we're affecting other people. And then when they tell us, we're like, oh, but then if they keep doing it, then they know they're doing it. But as I pointed out, the dragon's watching it. She's watching their distress. She's watching the crops are dying. Again, this is their food. And she's watching that the king and queen are being separated. She's fully aware that she's creating a very negative effect on the entire kingdom at the same time that she's promising them she's going to help them. She's the person hurting them. So, this is why the king had to vanquish her and send her away. She was aware that she was doing it. She was aware that of the negative effects, and she was telling them she was going to help them while she was hurting them. And people do that. They do that.
So the book is also a lesson on lying.
Yes.
People lying, people being deceitful,
Yes.
as well as a lesson about being assertive, setting your boundaries, knowing when enough is enough.
Right.
So, why do you think this is such an important lesson to learn at such a young age?
Self-protection. Children are victimized very easily, and it happens quite frequently. And we tend to, teach our children, which we should, but teach our children that they need to respect the church. And this isn't in the book, but this person was saying she was godly and she was the head of a ministry, and she was ministering other women. And this is what she was doing to women. And, we teach our children to trust the teachers, the administrators, the people we go to church with, our Girl Scout leaders. But we still have to teach them to protect themselves and to be aware when someone's doing something wrong, even though we've given them our trust, they're doing something wrong, and we need to speak up. We need to stand up for ourselves. And so in the story, the king has the authority, but he's given his trust to the dragon. And he's trusting the dragon. He invited the dragon into the kingdom to help his villagers. This is what her promise was. She promised she was going to help them. So he trusted her. He gave her a home. He gave her food. And she didn't do what she was supposed to do. So we trust the people in authority. And we teach our children to listen to them, to not question them, to not, explore what they're doing. And if they're doing the wrong thing that feels wrong, then we need to stand up for ourselves and talk about it. And so it helps to teach them that too.
So to teach kids to stand up for themselves, but then I can also see it as like I see it from the point of view of the king and the queen and the villagers, and I see it from the point of view of the dragon,
Right.
and that the dragon, imagining a dragon looking at the book, they can see that oh, when I do something over and over again, when I lie, when I'm deceitful, when I'm intentionally hurting someone, there are consequences,
Right.
and people will, push me away or push me out, and as well as the
Right.
perspective of the villagers and the king and queen, and that, when someone is doing this to you over and over again, you need to kick them out. You need to push them out.
Right. You need to create that boundary.
Right, to create the boundary.
So yeah, there were a dragon who was reading the story, and they recognized their own behavior in the story, and not really thinking beyond, because that's also a maturity level, beyond themselves and their own emotions and how they're affecting other people. If they're a good person and are learning and actually learning lessons, then they will monitor their own behavior and see themselves in the dragon.
Mm.
So there's a lot of different perspectives in the book.
There's a lot of different points of view and lessons and different ways that you can dissect the book.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And you can also enjoy it.
Yes. Yes. It's not just educational, it's fun
Yeah.
too. Awesome. Awesome. All right. So we're going to start to wind down now. So do you have any final words of wisdom that you want to share? Any parting words?
No, just get out there and read to your children and have adventures and enjoy life.
Simply put, beautiful. All right. So you guys, that's it for the reading. It's like a book club. I feel like we had a book club.
But wait till next time.
Yeah. Awesome.
I
Awesome.
have 13 books.
Whoa. We just the whole dissected and
Yes.
awesome. All right. So let me just put up your banner here. All right. So you guys, Dr. Dawn Menge, she is all over social media as usual. She is on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So please, please, please go to all of her accounts and follow her. Stay on top of her, stay on top of her business, her books. So definitely follow her and give her that support. And if you want to learn more about her books, or if you want to purchase her books for yourself, the information is on her website at www.drdawnmenge.com. All of that information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. And Dr. Menge, can you just remind people about your business, your services? What do you do?
Well, I teach special education, so I can give some advice on uh, parenting and the educational part of it. I also write a children's series. It's pre-K to 6th and 7th grade. I just published my 7th book. It just came out yesterday. And it's on Tucson, Arizona. So the Queen has traveled, in which we're going to talk about next week, but the Queen has traveled to Hawaii and New Orleans and on a train ride. And so there's lots of adventures. And I also write book reviews for Story Monster Magazine, and I judge several literacy contests. So I'm quite busy.
It sounds like it. Well, you heard it. You heard it from her mouth right there. So if you want this book that we just read, you can actually buy it for yourself. So it's not just for the video, but you can actually own this book for yourself, right? Seriously, you could go buy the book. Um, so the book is available on her website. So go to her website. You'll see her entire literary series. So you can check out her literary series and purchase A Dragon's Breath for yourself to read to your children. And earlier in the episode, there was a series of reading comprehension questions. So I encourage you to. I don't know if you provide those questions
I'll stick them on the link on the video. So if anybody
on the
wants,
post. Yeah.
they can just copy it off.
All right, there you go. So you don't even have to write it down. We're gonna post those questions for
Yeah.
you. We're gonna post it. It's really for Facebook, but we're gonna post it in the comment thread so you can see for yourself the reading comprehension questions. So I encourage you again to go to all of her social media, follow her on social media, go to her website, learn about her services, reach out to her if you have any questions, and most importantly, buy that book. Buy Dragon's Breath right now. Buy
Yeah.
it today. It is available online if you go to her website.
It's on Rushmore Press, Amazon, Barnes and Noble. Just Google Dragon's Breath by Dawn Menge or Dawn Menge, and you'll find it.
There you go. She said it again. So, you can go wherever books are sold, pretty much. So, Barnes and Noble, Amazon, Rushmore Press, those are some publishing distributors as well. So, you can also go there and find Dragon's Breath and purchase it yourself. All right, Dr. Mensch, thank you so much for joining me once again. This was awesome. Thank you for coming on again.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All right, backstage you go. And put up my banner. All right, so you guys, this was awesome. Thank you for attending our first virtual reading. And that concludes our episode. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wherever you are watching this right now, whether that is Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, maybe Instagram, check out our social media for more videos and clips, and don't forget to follow us. So whatever that button is, follow, like, subscribe, whatever the button is for whatever platform you're watching this right now, press it. Press that button. And while you're at it, let us know what you thought about this episode by leaving a comment in the comment section below or in the comment thread. And as a reminder, this web series is a production of A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. So if you would like to learn more about our company, our services, our workshops, all that we have to offer, or if you're looking for tutoring for yourself or for your child, please visit us online. All of the information is scrolling below at the bottom of your screen, but I will just say our website here. It is www.astepaheadtutoringservices.com. And I encourage you to subscribe to our email list and our texting list. You will get exclusive things. I think I lost my train of thought, but you will get the exclusive scoop about our discounts, special promotions, and any special events that are going on. You will get all of that information before anybody else, but only if you sign up for our email list and or our texting list. The links to those are also scrolling below at the bottom of your screen. And for those of you watching this video on YouTube, the information will be provided in the description. All right, I'm just going to share this last message before we officially close.
Hey there, have you heard of us? We're a small team of tutors here at A Step Ahead Tutoring Services. We believe that education and information should be accessible to everyone, regardless of income, race, or creed. We're dedicated to making this happen, but we need your help. Please consider making a donation to our company. No amount is too small. Your donation will allow us tutors to remain employed, offer free and low-cost services, put on productions like this web series, and reach out to families nationwide. With your help, we can tackle the academic challenges of our students and the emotional, mental, and behavioral changes that result from these challenges. As a bonus, we can improve our communities in the process. Support us today. Note: we're a for-profit company. We're not a charity. Your donation may not be tax deductible. Please consult a tax professional.
All right, and you guys, I look forward to seeing you at the next episode. Thank you for joining us. And now, once again, I am signing off.